Welcome to the News Navigators with me, Jeremy Deacon.
And me, Jonathan Starley.
We're doing a podcast special today, this evening for me, this afternoon for Jonathan, because of the extraordinary news today. Jonathan, do you want to recap for our listeners and viewers?
Sure. Dumpster fire, basically.
That's polite.
One thing I just want to preface this to say that our system of government depends on having a strong opposition. And so the fact that we've seen this kind of chaos going on with the opposition party today, well, the last 48 hours, is, it's problematic. So just to recap so that listeners know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
There is. So basically, Jarian Richardson was the opposition leader and leader of the OBA. He told us that he was going to step down. That was in late July, early August last year. And then, of course, there was a leadership election for the One Bermuda Alliance, the OBA, which was held, I forget the exact date, but it was like the first week of September.
It was about 6 months ago.
Yeah. And in that, there were two candidates for leader. You had Ben Smith, who at that time was the deputy leader of the
Who was
OBA.
also the favorite to win.
Yep. And then you had Robert King, who was a relative political newcomer. He had just become an MP in a by-election in, I want to say, May 2024.
That's
and then
about
he
right, yeah.
won his constituency seat again in the general election in February 2025.
Yeah.
And Robert King ended up pulling it off. He won with the victory, with the votes or support of the OBA membership, as I understand it.
It was predominantly, I think at the time it was quite clear that the majority of MPs did not vote for him.
That's right. Several of them had come out prior publicly supporting Ben Smith.
It's never been, they don't reveal the count, but I think it's taken as granted now that the MPs did not vote for him, or the majority didn't vote for him.
And, he had a bit of a rocky start. It was noticeable after the victory that the defeated candidate, Ben Smith, didn't, shake his hand. He wasn't prominent in saying,
good luck speeches.
Exactly. It was just Robert King and Scott Pearman who won the deputy leadership. Now, the way the OBA does their competitions, they didn't have like an official ticket, but there seemed to be like an informal ticket that it was a Ben Smith and Scott Pearman ticket on one hand and Robert King and Michael Fay on the other hand.
Yeah.
So it ended up kind of being a split result, as I understood it from outside, where Robert King won the leadership, but Scott Pearman won the deputy leadership. And, there was we interviewed, well, we talked about this probably, was it November last year? There was
we interviewed Robert King, yeah.
There was an attempted palace coup against Robert King at the time.
We'd heard that he had, soon after the election, been asked to resign as leader. Yeah. And we did put that to him. And at first, didn't really answer the question. Second attempt, he said no. I personally think we were right, that there was
I think so.
a coup attempt. And Robert King would have had to have said that so soon into his stint as leader. But I think these rumblings that culminated today have been going on since the day of the leadership election.
Yes. And it's what I would call a palace coup. A palace coup means like it was, the MPs are the ones who kicked him.
It was the courtiers. It was the dukes and everybody. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is what it came to a light yesterday, that there was a challenge, and today that challenge was successful, and it was successful because the OBA used the Bermuda Constitution, which said if 2/3 of opposition MPs didn't like their leader, they could petition the governor, and the governor would have no choice but to replace the sitting leader, with a choice of leader from the MPs, in which case this was Ben Smith.
Yeah. And it's
And
interesting the clash between the Bermuda Constitution and the party constitution.
well, this is the crux of it, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. I think Jonathan, if you want to explain, but I think go ahead and explain. Yeah, absolutely, because it's created such a mess here. Because it's quite clear as of speaking now, as of recording this, and it is close to 9 p.m. Bermuda time, that Robert King has
5
not
p.m.
resigned. Hmm?
It's 5 p.m. You're talking UK time.
I'm talking, oh man, these split shifts are killing me. But anyway, my point is, it's quite clear as of recording this that Robert King has not resigned. So yeah, this constitutional matter is interesting.
Yeah, so as it stands, as I understand it, and I have the OBA's constitution here, it is on their website. I got that wrong previously. That when I
Yes,
said they,
yes, you got into trouble for that.
I did indeed. I couldn't find it, but I have subsequently found it.
I'm sure Dr.
Um,
Coote will be very happy to hear you say it's on the website.
this one's for you, Doug.
We digress,
um,
Jonathan.
so yeah, as I understand it, Mr. King is still the leader of the One Bermuda Alliance
He is the leader of the party.
until such time as there's a new membership or a new special election to elect a new leader.
Uh, Not quite, I think. Now, the way it's being described to me is that it's, I think, paragraph 6V.
That's
So
right.
as two-thirds of OBA MPs pass a vote of no confidence in the OBA leader, has to be endorsed by the OBA caucus.
Yes.
Now, that caucus is made up of the executive, OBA MPs, OBA senators, regional
Hmm.
chairs, adopted candidates, and approved candidates. So if that caucus then endorses this vote of no confidence, it'll be up to the OBA members then to elect an OBA leader by secret ballot.
Hmm. That's right,
Now,
as I understand it.
so I'm not sure at that stage, does Robert King have to step down as party leader, or did he have to wait to a vote? Regardless, you've got this bizarre mix at the moment where Ben Smith is the leader of the opposition, but he's not the leader of the party.
Yeah, and the way the OBA's constitution is written, it makes clear that the leader of the OBA should be the opposition leader or the premier, depending on their seats in the House.
Yes, it does.
So it's not a constitutional crisis from the Bermuda Constitution, but it is
No,
a constitutional crisis for the OBA at the moment.
yeah, and I've been speaking to a lot of people today, and the feeling is that what's happened today is unlawful
Yeah,
because
I
it
mean,
breaches
it's
the
not a
OBA
criminal thing because
constitution.
it's the OBA Constitution, but it's unlawful within their constitution.
Thank you. Sorry, yeah, it's not a criminal thing. I should state before somebody sues me.
I mean, I did speak to a few OBA friends that I have. I spoke to them throughout the day, a couple in person, some by WhatsApp, and they're members, and they are unhappy about this development. They voted for King, or at least they indicate to me that we're members. They said we members voted for King, and this is a slap in the face to us members. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they themselves voted for King, but the membership voted for King. And you could have a bizarre situation where you have a new leadership election and King gets reelected by the members, and then it's like a circular thing because then
Well, I believe, having talked to a few people, I believe that Robert King needs endorsement of three MPs.
if he wants to run as a leader, I believe that is the case.
Now, it turns out the nine MPs voted against him, so it seems unlikely. How many people went along with the flow because they felt it was the right thing to do or they had to do it
Hmm.
is another matter. And whether they might endorse him is another matter as well. But the crux of what we got to here is an unholy mess
Dumpster fire.
that the OBA's got itself into. The
It's
members have been sidelined.
it's the OBA's "we had to deceive you" moment in a sense.
Oh, it's that times 10, though.
Yeah,
At least with that, Dame Jennifer, who was the victim of it, had been Premier
yeah.
for 2 or 3 years, hadn't she? This
Since
is,
'98, yeah,
okay, so this is a
5 years.
coup after 6 months.
Yeah,
And I mean, as far as I know, those leading the coup have not given a reason. I have heard that they didn't like his leadership style. And that's very subjective.
Yeah.
But
Like,
also,
what did
I've
you not
heard
like
that
about it? I don't know.
some people were aghast that he stepped up, had the temerity to step up, that he was not in line because he was a newbie.
Yeah.
Now, if that's true, and I don't know, that's unbelievable. That just plays into the PLP's hands as being like the 40 thieves pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Well, I mean, that's the narrative that the PLP has always tried to frame the OBA as the EBP continuity. And this completely plays to that argument. So, yeah.
Potentially, if my conjecture, having talked to people, is true, I don't know. But it's the problem is this conjecture is going to carry on and on and on. Now, how the party is going to heal itself, especially at the moment when it's got two leaders and the party membership has been sidelined again. The OBA doesn't release its results, so we don't know how close the result was, whether there was like 10 votes in it or whatever, and we don't know how many votes were cast, if I remember rightly. So, but nonetheless, democratically elected leader has been deposed in a coup, leaving two leaders of the party at the moment, one of
Yep.
the political in the House and one of the party itself. It's an unbelievable mess, and it just doesn't seem to have been thought through.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to say.
No, I know.
um,
I'm in the UK, and I keep picking up all these UK phrases again, and it's gobsmacking.
yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
it's an unholy mess that's been handled in an unholy bad way.
I certainly look forward to having on the podcast a representative from the OBA. It was too
Well,
wasn't possible to organize it for right now. This is like a reaction to this kind of breaking news thing.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, hopefully we get Ben Smith or someone on the podcast eventually to kind of give their side of it. At the moment, all they're saying is we didn't think his leadership was good enough. But what was
I
wrong
think,
with the leadership? No one
well,
said it.
exactly. I mean, he voted for that. You know what he was like. You knew he was fairly combative in the House.
Yeah,
You know,
and
he'd been an MP long enough. But the members voted for him. And the question is now, what next? Okay, so they'll have this caucus. It may be tomorrow, which would be Thursday, or it may be Saturday. I'm hearing different dates. Okay, so all the relevant people get together and they vote Robert King out. One scenario, obviously. How can the party heal in the eyes of the electorate?
yeah, this is OBA's constitution talks about a disciplinary committee. This is what the actions of these MPs would seem to have fall afoul of discipline, but I can't
How
see
can
them expelling
how can
themselves
it
now.
how can it make itself a viable opposition, a government in waiting, when there's behaviour like this, especially when we could be seeing an election the next year? Obviously, David Burt steps down in October as leader of the PLP and premier. They're not going to get their act together in time. This is something that the PLP is going to bring up time and time and time again,
Do you know
especially
if the Premier
as a
David
leader.
Byrd wanted to, just for laughs, he could call a snap election right now?
Well, he's got bags of CIT money. He could do a giveaway budget and call one in April, yeah,
Yeah, think about the legacy: 4 consecutive landslides.
and probably another huge majority because
Yeah,
he's going to trust the OBA after this. You know, how can you ignore the members like this and override them?
I'm sure that when an election comes, most of the OBA voters will probably rally around the OBA. But the main problem for the OBA is going to be the swing voters, and the OBA depends on swing voters
Yeah.
to win elections to become the government.
Having
And
said
at the
that,
moment,
Jonathan,
swing voters are.
just interrupt. It hasn't managed to mobilise all its own supporters either in the last two
It hasn't.
elections.
No, they've been
But you're right.
fractured.
The swing voters are important.
All this. If I was the FDM, I'd be rubbing my hands right now. That the FDM is the third political party of Bermuda, the Free Democratic Movement. You also have the People's Independent Campaign, which was trying to form like another third party as well. I haven't heard much from them since, but the opportunity is there for those parties to kind of seize it in a sense. At least come the next election. Swing voters going to be like, we can't trust the OBA. Let's give these guys a chance.
Well, I think to do that, then both of those groups need to start being more noticed now, have a greater public face,
Yeah.
better media presence, which they haven't done. So I'm not convinced about that. Second
You could
scenario,
also see a fracture, just how the UBP fractured between the UBP and the BDA, the Bermuda Democratic Alliance,
yeah,
before forming the OBA and leaving Kim Swan as like the only member of the UBP.
poor guy. I remember the awful picture of him.
Yeah. I mean, you could end up with Robert King as the leader of the One Bermuda Alliance still, but like a leader of one. It's possible.
Robert King is the leader of the Bermuda Democratic Alliance again.
Yeah. You know,
Well, it's an interesting one because he's going to have to swallow a bitter pill, and he's going to be sitting there on the back benches.
one interesting thing, and so once there's an election, even if you don't necessarily agree with the result, often people like to, you're supposed to rally around the leader and try to help them to be best. Um, there's a saying here which I want to quote. It's a quote about leadership, and it says, "As a leader, you have an incredible opportunity to change someone's life every single day. Leadership is never about tearing people down; it's about helping people become the very best version of themselves."
Yeah,
And that's a quote from Ben Smith, actually.
is
Oh,
it
well, it's a quote that Ben Smith himself has shared on social media.
interesting?
And
Not quite complying with that, is he?
from the outside, it doesn't seem like he did because, as we said, after the election of Robert King, Ben Smith was nowhere to be seen. He wrote a couple op-eds, but he didn't come out after the election to shake hands with Robert
No,
King. And it seems as if there's been scheming for several months now, almost immediately since Robert King's election. So yeah, there's going to be massive trust issues
massive
going
trust
on.
issue. I mean, we know there's been scheming
Yeah,
because we are between us 100% sure that he was asked to resign quite soon after the election as
yeah,
leader. So there's been scheming going on there, and we did a podcast about it, and we talked about the rifts going on
yeah.
there because both of us had heard about rifts after that leadership election. The dust has not settled. Jonathan, the second scenario. Okay, so again, if we talk about the OBA caucus meeting to endorse a vote of no confidence, suppose it doesn't. Suppose the adopted candidates, approved candidates, regional chairs, senators don't like it. Then the party's stuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you bring up senators. So with the new opposition leader, the opposition senators are appointed by the opposition leader,
Yes.
not by the OBA leader.
No.
So you're going to see some change on the senators, probably.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Although, as I understand from the OBA constitution, and this is where the constitutional clashes happen, the OBA leader is supposed to be the one that appoints the senators. But again, that's the clash between that and the Bermuda constitution, right?
Right.
So
I just want to. I want to
it's a
read this
mess.
again. I want to read this again. So this is what I've been told. So if the OBA caucus endorses the vote of no confidence, then it would be up to the OBA members to elect the OBA leader by secret ballot pursuant to Article 3.4 of the OBA Constitution. That's the vote. Until this process is complete, any attempt to replace Robert King as leader of the opposition is contrary to the OBA Constitution and risks embroiling the Crown, I'm not sure what that means by that, in an
Governor.
unceremonious coup by MPs who are subverting the OBA members of election.
Well, that's what we just saw. So
But again, I wanted to read it though because it's a bit unclear. Does Robert King stay as party leader and done an election?
yeah.
It's a bit unclear. I don't
And
know
it
if
says
somebody else
the
clarify that.
I'm reading Article 6.1 of the OBA Constitution. Article 6 is the OBA leader. It says that the OBA leader will appoint an OBA whip, recommend senators for appointment by the governor, and may appoint a House leader. And the OBA leader will also appoint ministers or shadow ministers. So, so how's this going to work? According to their constitution, Robert King is still the one setting out the shadow cabinet, but obviously the opposition leader is going to set up his own shadow cabinet. I mean,
I
in
mean,
some ways it's moot because if 9 of the MPs voted to kick King, they're not going to listen to what he says anyway.
this it
But
is moot. I agree, but it just
it's still a
shows.
constitutional mess.
But it shows the depths of the mess they've got themselves into.
I mean, we last had these kind of discussions when the PLP was in power over that the 2003 crisis after the 2003 election, which you referred to when the group around Dr. Brown tried to do a palace coup against
Yeah,
Jennifer Smith. It was semi-successful in that Jennifer Smith's continued leadership was untenable, but there wasn't enough support to endorse the coup leaders either,
right.
which is how you got a kind of a compromise candidate of Premier Alex Scott, who I actually thought was a really good premier, despite having come to it as a compromise. Now, the PLP did take some time to heal from that. There were still, talks about Brownites, and we still saw this kind of instability in the PLP for years after that because the PLP constitution was breached. It left a very deep scar within the PLP.
Mm,
They've eventually healed themselves,
mm.
and getting back into power in 2017 certainly helps with the healing. Um, but
I,
yeah,
I
I
think you've got a
reckon the
point.
OBA's got a very rocky time ahead.
I think you've got a point. It goes back, which we've said over and over again, that this has happened against the wishes of the members, the
Yeah.
majority of the members. And yeah, that's going to take a long time. The whiplash from that could be quite severe. At an election, they're not going to come out.
Mm. I mean, I'm not an OBA member. I'm not an OBA supporter. So,
No, me neither either.
just
But
being upfront about that. But if I was an OBA member, I wouldn't trust what had happened. I would have a lot of heated words.
I would be really upset. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would be really upset. And I've seen a few comments about people leaving the party and withdrawing the membership. And I take that with a pinch of salt because I don't know if they're the real people when they come to comment on the RG's story. But
Yeah.
there's clearly a sentiment out there that this hasn't gone down well. The other thing is, I mean, we touched briefly that Robert King's going to be sitting on the back benches. Presumably, they're not going to give him a portfolio, even though they've only got 11 MPs. He's going to be sitting on the back benches. Easy prey for the Premier, who's so good at this kind of thing, to again ask, will the real leader of the OBA stand up? He's going to do it. He did it with Michael Dunkley was there and Jerry and Richardson. Will the real leader of the OBA please stand up? He's gonna absolutely milk it. But Robert King, he could be a bit of a loose cannon for them now, depending on how he feels.
I mean, I wouldn't even blame him if he decides to step down and leave politics altogether, and then you have a by-election, which adds to another headache for the OBA. I
And in
mean,
these
he might, as you say, he
circumstances,
might want to stay there and be a loose cannon. He could join the PLP because he might agree with the whole PLP narrative. I mean, we saw that's how the PLP got Kim Swan and Wayne Ferbert, former
yeah,
leader of the UBP, because they came out and said, yeah, I was not respected by my party. I was being used. And once they were done with me, they spat me out. So we could see
yeah.
Robert King join the PLP. I
Uh,
mean, that would be
I,
bizarre.
I don't think it would be that bizarre. And I think the ramifications is are going to play out for quite some time.
Yeah.
Just one other point I wanted to make. If you include John Barrett, who was an interim leader back in May 2011, Ben Smith is the 11th leader of the OBA since May 2011. That's 11 in, do my maths, 15 years. It's a
Yeah, I mean,
revolving door.
the OBA has been unstable almost since inception. I mean, you had their first, um, not their first leader because that was John Barrett, but their first real leader,
Great
which was
candidate.
Craig Cannoneer. He had to, step down in relative disgrace. Then
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
had Michael Dunkley took over from him, um, and of
Who
course he
came
lost the
with all the
2017 election.
UBP trappings as well.
Yeah,
Difficult to avoid that.
yeah, and then of course he lost the 2017 election, which kicked off a new round of instability. I actually forget who took over
It was Patricia Gordon Pamplin, another interim leader.
interim, right? And then
And then
Craig Cannoneer came back for the
it was Gene
2020
Atherton.
election.
It was Gene Atherton.
Right.
And then it was Craig Cannoneer who came back.
Right. And Cannoneer was their leader for the 2020 election, I believe.
That disastrous one down to 6 seats, yeah.
Yes. And
And then
then it was,
Simons,
right. And then Jarian, and
Robert
then it was
King.
Robert King, and now Ben Smith.
It's a poison chalice, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't give a lot of confidence in their ability.
It
And I
doesn't.
think you mentioned earlier the opposition party in our system is supposed to be the government in waiting. They're supposed to show
Yeah.
that they can govern. If they
Hmm.
cannot govern themselves, how can
This
they
is the
govern the
problem.
country? That's going to be the narrative the PLP is going to put out there.
And it's a perfectly good narrative to put out there, and it'd be difficult to disagree with when you have that many leaders. It smacks of instability, long term instability in the party itself.
Yep.
They've created one big mess. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out because I think it's going to keep us in a lot of podcasts.
Yeah. Well, if they want to come onto our podcast, they may not want to after
They don't
our
like us, Jonathan. No,
critical comments
I
at the
don't think the
moment.
OBA doesn't like us. Well, that's what I've been told. I don't know how many don't like us, but we're not their favourite people because we're criticising them. But the reason we're criticising them is because they do things like this.
Yeah, if you don't want to be criticized, don't do stuff to be criticized for.
I know. I mean, politics 101, isn't it? Communications 101.
Well, the communications is an interesting thing because, of course, Ben Smith was the deputy leader for the OBA for the 2025 election, and I understand he was heavily involved in the campaign.
Yeah.
And, not just us, but other people had said they were critical of the communications, the election campaign communications. And that in some ways contributed to Robert King being elected. I think a lot of the members, as we saw, and as you said, the RG commentators, how real are they? We don't know. But a lot of what I'm citing are RG commentators who are OBA supporters saying they were critical of the election comms and the way the OBA handled the election. They did well. They got, was it 11 or 10 MPs, which
11.
was better than the 6 that they had before.
Clearly.
So
They won
right.
5 seats. We saw the document that suggested they should have won 3 or 4 more seats, and part of that was down to the bad comms.
Right.
That was one of many, many documents. I don't know how much credence to give that. But I think talking of comms, I think I saw Ben Smith's acceptance speech. It was very brief, clearly off the cuff. Or I thought it was off the cuff. He very quickly thanked Robert King for being opposition leader and moved on. No tributes, nothing else. To me, as somebody who writes speeches, has heard speeches, who is involved in comms, I thought that was extraordinarily brief. I think he could have done a little bit more there.
It's interesting. They're pretty much coming out very strong, saying, "Oh, these are internal matters. We're not going to discuss them, and we're not going to negatively talk about Robert King." But this whole thing is
You've just negatively talked about Robert King by effectively sacking him.
Yeah, and saying that his leadership, and saying why? Oh, because his leadership wasn't. That's negative talking. So they're double talking right now.
They are, and they talk. They say it's internal politics, internal stuff. But as we both said, these guys have got to show they're a government in waiting, and a lack of transparency doesn't show that. I'm afraid.
And I mean, as I
quite
said,
clear they haven't got their script together on this because they're not putting out a proper message at all.
Well, I mean, who's even in charge? I don't know.
I have no idea now. But that's not the point. You could always get somebody in for a week on a consultancy basis, couldn't you? Yeah. And get it done. It's not hard.
As I said when at the beginning of this podcast, I said that it's very important in our system of government to have a strong opposition. So even though I am not a supporter, I do not support the ideology of the OBA, I do think it's valuable to have a strong opposition. And I do hope that however this mess gets sorted out, that they do find a way to become a stronger opposition going forward.
Well,
they've got a long road ahead.
Putting everything that's happened yesterday and today aside, Ben Smith is a new leader. We have to accept that. and probably will be the leader of the opposition and the leader of the party. I imagine it'll play out that way. It'll be
Mhm.
really interesting to see how or if he shapes the party going forward. Because you and I have both talked in the past that it's very difficult to know what they stand for, what
Yeah.
their policies are, what their ideology is. They talk about a broad church. Well, that's fine. But if everybody's disagreeing with each other, or a few are agreeing with each other and not so much the others, you're not going to spin a consistent message, are you? And I think that's been a real problem for the OBA. And it'd be interesting to see how Ben Smith leads them going forward. Do you think
Yeah.
he's
I mean,
capable of doing that? What do you think? What do you think if you could get a crystal ball?
well, I think they are unlikely to win the next election. I kind of thought that the trends were in their favor to to at least come close to winning the next election before this whole thing happened. But at the moment, I think that's unlikely unless the PLP does something really stupid in the next between now and the next election. But at the moment, I think the OBA will be lucky to hold on to the seats that they have at the moment. Maybe in the next election they might be able to recover, but at the moment, I think they've alienated a lot of the swing voters. They've alienated a huge chunk of their own membership by this action. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to win in the next election as a result.
I agree. They remind me a bit of the Tories and the Conservative Party here, and how they've completely imploded after so many prime ministers. And
Yeah, I
obviously,
mean, under
reform.
David Cameron, they were doing all right, but then
Yeah.
after that,
Well, yeah.
they went into a bit of a death spiral. They
Yeah.
were still in power for some time. You had Boris Johnson.
The lettuce.
Yeah, who was the one before the before Liz
Oh, it
Truss?
was Rishi Sunak, wasn't it?
Theresa May.
Theresa May. Sorry. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah. Yeah.
Rishi Sunak took over from Liz Truss.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, of course, the OBA is the sister party of the Conservative Party, just
Yeah.
like the PLP is the sister party of the Labour Party.
Yeah.
So maybe they're following the same directions.
Well, one managed to keep power for quite a long time. The other hasn't got anywhere near it.
Yeah,
Um,
they one term. And
well, I
honestly,
must admit,
I don't even think that their rebranding to the OBA helped. They could have stayed as EPP and probably still have won the 2012 election. To be
I think
honest,
they should have stayed as Bermuda Democratic Alliance.
yeah.
You know,
Um,
I just wonder. You know, it's probably this is probably a bit too fanciful, a bit too far fetched. But is there room for the BDA to come back? There is, because when they merged, when the UPP merged with the BDA, there were a lot of disaffected BDA supporters who
yeah,
just gave up on politics because
yeah,
it's not what they wanted. They wanted a clean break.
yeah.
I just wonder if, like I said, I think it's a bit fanciful. But I think
I
if you got the
imagine many of
BDA,
the any BDA members that were still hanging in the OBA membership might be wanting to walk away now. I don't know.
I don't think it's
We
beyond
won't
the
know
realms of
because I don't have
possibility.
access to the OBA membership list, but I can imagine
But
these things could happen.
it's probably a bit fanciful. But I can see the OBA's membership going down after this.
Yeah. Again,
Definitely.
I think that there's an opportunity here for the third parties to be more vocal and scoop up some of these
Well,
membership.
they've got to get their act together then,
Yeah.
because they haven't at the moment. Not at all. They come up at an election, then they disappear again. There's no
The
continuity.
FTM has had a couple opinion pieces in the paper.
Yeah, but
Quentin Sherlock, who I believe is their chair, and Omar Dill. I forget what his proper title is within
I can't
the.
remember now. He's a really good guy. I
Yeah.
don't know the other gentleman. I know Omar is a really good guy, but it's not enough.
No, it's
Not
just an
enough.
occasional opinion piece. It's
Yeah,
not
and
being in there responding to things.
you have to be there in the public's face all the time to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
the one thing that might play for the OBA is a week is a long time in politics.
yes.
Um, Voters tend to have a very short memory.
Yeah.
Um, and if we have the election a year away, they've moved on. Ben Smith has asserted himself,
Mhm.
and there may be some policies and an identity. The PLP won't let people forget, of course, but there is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Um,
I definitely think that the new leadership of the, well, I do think that Ben Smith and the MPs are banking on let people cool down for a week before they do like a membership meeting, and hope that
But then
people just
again,
get their anger out now.
it's going to boil down to what happens at this caucus.
Yeah.
If there's trouble at the caucus, this could go on for a while. And if Robert King doesn't play ball and behaves like a nice defeated leader and sits on the back benches, it's not going to die down.
Well, I mean, they did him dirty, to be frank, the way this all went down. If they had an issue with his leadership, they had ways to trigger a membership vote, a special election. But doing
Exactly.
it this way with this like coup going to the governor,
It just
I
looks very underhand, doesn't it?
it does, yeah,
It
ruthless,
does.
but not good. Not good team building.
No. It's a good way to end. Um, I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope it's cleared things up for you a little bit. Jonathan, like I said, I don't think this is going to finish. I think we'll hear from the caucus, whether it's tomorrow or Saturday or next week. And we might well be back doing an emergency podcast again. In the meantime, Robert King remains as a party leader, has power as the party leader. Whether he'll exercise it in the next 24 hours remains to be seen.
Well, Jeremy, just earlier this week, I was saying to you that there's not a lot of juicy news stories for the
You
podcast,
did.
and
Yeah,
now our cup runneth over.
it certainly does. And we haven't even talked about the guy from the UK civil service
Yeah,
saying that
about
a
the
bunch
scraps
of
the vampire.
territories should be independent.
Hmm.
That's for another podcast. All right,
Yeah,
mate. On that note, we'll see how many emails I get or WhatsApp messages I get criticizing us for being OBA haters again. And I shall respond in exactly the same way as responded before. Stop giving us the ammunition. All right, mate. Take care.
cool. See you.